you may be starting some drama in the
I might
Astros
want to stay out of
clubhouse.
that.
Yeah.
I might want to stay out of that. So I should probably.
You either got to go strong on this take
Right.
or back off it completely.
The smart thing to do might be to back off and just let it play out. Especially with the Astros winning 10 of the last 11. I don't want to throw a wrench in that. I don't want to ruin anything.
Well, you were the one that may have also started the 10-game streak, though. So you may just want to continue and ride this hot hand.
That's true. I got a decision to make. I might make that decision during this break. When we come back, we'll talk some more NFL scheduling. I think we need to dive into both the Texans and the Cowboys schedule. I know you're a big Giants fan. They open up against the Cowboys.
Feels like the 37th year in a row.
Oh, yeah, at least. We'll talk about that on the other side of this break. You're listening to the Louis Beliucci Show on The Zone.
You're listening to Aggieland's Home for Sports. The Zone, 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
When you hear the Aggies on The Zone, think about the businesses backing the Ags all season long. Bryan College Station Toyota, Prosperity Bank, Cherry Rufino and Coldwell Banker Agtown Realtors, Park at Traditions Exceptional Senior Living, Schulte Roofing, and the RV Station. Here's a big gig 'em to all these sponsors. Now that's some good bull. You're listening to the flagship for Aggie Athletics, The Zone, 1150 AM and 90.
Steve Kerr admitted yesterday it's unlikely DeMarcus Cousins plays again this postseason, although he does not need surgery for his torn left quad. So the Dubs holding out hope the injury heals quicker than usual. Some college news. Iona's Tim Cluse has become the third known coach to take himself out of the running for the vacant St. John's job. First there was Bobby Hurley, who returns to Arizona State. Then there's Porter Moser, who returned to Loyola Chicago. All right, from the NBA and the college game to the NHL, 3 games tonight on the schedule. A Game 4 and a pair of Game 5s. Game 4, Capitals and Hurricanes from Raleigh. Caps lead the series 2-1. You got the Blues and Jets from Winnipeg in a pivotal Game 5. That series tied at 2. Meanwhile, the Sharks and Golden Knights head from Vegas back to San Jose.
Reber for the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
The Brazos Valley Rehabilitation Center, celebrating 60 years of helping our community, and presenting sponsor Davis & Davis Lawyers invite you to the 10th annual Power of the Purse on April 26th at 6 p.m. at the College Station Hilton. This fun-filled event features a silent and live auction, champagne toast, and light dinner. All funds raised are used to provide charitable care through physical, occupational, and speech therapy services to all in need. Visit popbcs.com. See you April 26th for Power of the Purse 2019.
It's not a garden, it's a canvas. And the Home Depot has everything you need to fill yours with colorful annuals. Beautiful, vibrant 12 packs of assorted annuals, now just $7.88, usually $10.98. Add a splash of red here, orange and yellow there, and turn that garden into a work of art. Today is the day for doing. Start with fresh 12-pack assorted annuals, just $7.88, now at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only. Selection varies by store.
Hey moms and dads, when it comes to your child's education, there's a lot to consider. No matter what you're searching for, search the Bryan Broadcasting half-price tuition program first. We've partnered with schools and learning centers throughout the area to get your student started with high-quality programs at half price. Right now, we're featuring half-price tuitions at the Tutoring Center of College Station, empowering children to reach their highest potential with programs in reading, writing, and math. Multilingual Academy Preschool, offering trilingual immersion curriculum for infants, preschool, and after-school care. Prodigy Learning of Bryan College Station, offering high-quality dual language learning curriculum for infants 6 weeks old through 5 years of age. And more. You can view the full list of current half-price tuition offers at halfpricebrazos.com. Half-price tuitions are first come, first served, and availability is limited. So go now to halfpricebrazos.com.
Good afternoon, Bryan College Station. Welcome to the Beliucci Hour Launch live on Sports Radio 1150 The Zone 93.7 FM. I am your host, Ryan Brauninger. We are here at the Tap on Harvey Road for the next hour to talk all things Texas A&M sports and athletics and get you ready for the weekend. there is one topic of conversation that will dominate the majority of this show once Liucci arrives. And I did get the phone call at 11:58 indicating my phone rings at 11:58 and it says Billy Liucci. He's not calling just chat. He's calling to tell me that the cleaning ladies were early today. And somehow the cleaning ladies being early means he is going to be late. I don't know how, in Billy's world, time works differently. It's like another planet, another dimension. But you still got time if you're driving around looking for a place to come grab lunch, come check out the Tap's lunch menu, 849 burger baskets. I'm going to be having the Diablos today, a lot of great lunch menu items. Don't forget, Monday nights karaoke, Wednesday nights piano bar, and on Tuesdays and Fridays here, Crawfish, starting at 6 p.m. For any more information about what they've got going on here at the Tap, visit the website, tapbcs.com. Now, yesterday was a rough day for a lot of Aggie fans in terms of news. A&M, or now former Texas A&M athletic director Scott Woodward, going back to LSU, where he's from, where his parents live, where he is a member of the Baton Rouge Country Club, where he attended school in the mid-'80s. And all that is fine. I think when people call you home and you go home, and I don't think any A&M fans would have an issue with him going back to home for Mr. Scott Woodward. But the manner in which it happened, the speed of a lot of these questions, and more, especially more so than I am. But one thing that I will say about this whole series of events is that you've kicked a hornet's nest of a large fan base with that is deeply influential around the state. And so I think what this has done is maybe wake up some people as to, A&M is not as untouchable in terms of, or infallible in terms of the decision-making process, and just how valued Scott Woodward was to this fan base. I was really excited. I mean, not excited, but I was kind of like, hey, this is kind of cool to see how everybody's responding to A&M allowing this to happen. And how does this happen? And the fan base is certainly recognized the influence that Scott Woodward has had. And I think that is what angers so many people, because never, at least in my lifetime, my dad was an Aggie, my uncle was an Aggie, and I started coming to Kyle Field when I was 2 or 3 years old, and went to the Cotton Bowl in '93 and saw Quentin Coriat sack Casey Weldon. I've been coming to games and to do those things. They've never been in better shape. So just, there's a lot of questions because of that. And Aggies know what is public record, what Scott Woodward was making. And how does a guy that has done so much for your athletic department, how was he the 7th highest paid coach, highest paid AD in the conference? And almost, $500,000 less than the guy down the road in Austin. Liucci has said many times over the slew of radio shows that he's done between yesterday and today, with Paul Feinbaum yesterday, TexAgs Radio this morning. I believe he had another one last night. It wasn't all about the money. So if it wasn't all about the money, then there's just in right now. But don't forget, Aggie baseball starting their series tonight in South Carolina. Big road. Continue to struggle in the midweek. Keep you in every game. You, by the way,
you're the flounder.
Don't call me
the flounder
2 minutes before the show and say,
Ryan, the flounder Brauninger.
I'm going to be late because I've hit every light. And then the cleaning ladies were here
early. He can't carry a radio show for 3 minutes on his own without reverting to a Tuesday night midweek baseball game against an American Athletic Conference opponent. Instead, let's talk about Scott Woodward.
Well, I did talk about Scott Woodward before you.
I'm sure
you were on the phone walking in.
Sound like you did a lot of talking about it.
Well, I didn't want to overstep my boundaries.
Are you ready to go? Are you ready to go?
I didn't want to overstep my boundaries, Billy, because
go ahead.
I gave you credit.
Let's hear it.
I said, I'm not qualified to talk about this
stuff.
Yes,
you are.
And you know who is qualified to talk about it?
You.
Those jokers there in the front.
Apparently not. Based on what you told me to start the show when I was driving over here.
They've already got some wild ideas. Wild ideas.
Let me tell you something.
They started screaming out names like this was the Jerry Springer show or something.
I'd like to take a straw poll of the front table, and whoever gets closest will win like some sort of prize.
A dinner with Liucci.
Like everybody, you all have till next commercial break to write down your name of who you want, not who you think of, who you want, and whoever. If anyone gets it, you win a prize.
Let's do that for everybody here. You've got these index, and Jared, you can get into this if you want to as well, but we can't promise you any perks back there. Liucci.
This ought to be fun.
Yeah, that's one of your few good ideas.
Thank you.
I guess the number one question that people have asked, custom home in one of the nicer neighborhoods in this area and was seemingly going to be set up for a long time in College Station to leave when the issue wasn't just the money.
Well, I want to start off by saying this. First and foremost, I think if you watch his presser today, and I got to know Scott really well, and there are certain things I know about him. It wasn't about the money. It never was. It's about having that respect that comes with the work you've done and being appreciated. I think it was about the working dynamic. You look and the guy who brought him here, it's not coincidental that like a week ago they decide not to extend his presidency, not to renew or extend.
Talking about Michael Young.
Michael Young, and this is the guy that brought him here from Washington. He worked with him there. He hired him from Washington to come to Texas A&M. I think Scott's had a very good situation with Michael Young, kind of dealing with the entities above him. Scott not really having to.
He was the buffer.
So much.
Yeah.
He was certainly a buffer. And then, Scott was able to go, and he had a good team around him and go and hire coaches, and he had incredible success with that, and A&M's going to benefit, and the next AD is going to benefit, and that's going to be his legacy here, and it's going to be a tremendous one, probably as the best AD A&M's had in terms of hires. But I also think there is a lot of it had to do with just going home. And you watch some of that LSU presser, and you read what he said, and no matter what, that's a big part of what happened. At least to the point where had it been anywhere else, you wouldn't have lost him. But I also think there's an issue where A&M didn't get out in front of we all knew that day was going to come when LSU fired or leaving came calling, and I don't think A&M had all its ducks in a row. They weren't all lined up. Everything wasn't,
it's frustrating.
Perfect in terms of the infrastructure, the relationship, the direction, the compensation. Everything wasn't where it needed to be to give yourself the best chance of keeping him, whether you could have or not.
And that's what I was going to say. The frustrating part is that you didn't give yourself the opportunity to give yourself the chance to keep him. And here's what I know, Liucci, and having lived in Louisiana and having a lot of friends from over there, it is different. Like I've got buddies that grew up there and they moved away and they complain about what goes on over there and people not getting out of that South Louisiana bubble, but they'll go back.
Yeah.
So it is a home and it does draw people back into it. And so I do think there was what percentage of this decision was made because it was LSU, I don't know, and I don't know that you know that either. I do think it was the perfect storm it was the perfect opportunity for LSU to come in under A&M's nose and rip out the best AD they've had. And credit to LSU for doing that.
Yeah, and I don't know that LSU came in under A&M's nose. And for all I know, and my thought would be that it was Scott that approached them. He's probably had a standing offer that this job is yours when you want it. He probably knew exactly what it was going to be, exactly how quickly it would happen. And maybe with the events of last week with President Young, and he might have been like, make the next call was to Baton Rouge, and I didn't mean to do that, but he's calling Baton Rouge the next second, literally. And he was there a lot over the last couple years, for his own, for family reasons, just going home to see his literally his, everyone said, Mama called. They use that Bear Bryant thing. Literally, his mom lives there. They're very close. I believe his brother lives there. Not to mention all the LSU ties in the Baton Rouge. But going back, I don't want to deflect from the fact that people at A&M that are in charge of keeping a wildly popular and successful athletic director need to be looking at themselves today, and they need to be, held accountable by those at Texas A&M to say, this cannot happen again. How and why the hell did this happen? And because if you really think about it, when's the last time Texas A&M's lost somebody in terms of an AD or a head coach that they really wanted, that they really did not want
Billy
to lose,
Clyde.
right? Okay, guess what? That was like 12 years ago.
And you lost him
and
then to an upper echelon program. This is
that's hard. A&M basketball keeping someone from going to Kentucky, right? But still, that's the last time that's happened. And I'm not sure you guys maybe can answer this when it was before that. Did they lose a baseball coach? Did they lose another basketball coach? Did they lose a football coach? Did they lose was it Bear Bryant? Did they lose an AD that was coveted that went to be an AD? So, it doesn't happen often, and it certainly won't happen and shouldn't happen nowadays. So you can hide behind the LSU thing if you want, and I will say, if someone completely discounts that and says that had nothing to do with it, then I would say you're incorrect and you're wrong. But you also can't hide behind it, and you have to take a hard look at the processes and take a look at it and say, where did we go wrong? Where did we screw up? Why? And who? If it's someone's fault, if it's a group's fault, if it's not, and you say, you know what, we did what we needed to do. You might look at it and go, if at the end of the day you think so much of it had to do with the Young situation, and you might say, look, that decision's bigger than an athletic director. I don't see how you couldn't have still worked around that, me personally. And so my point is, it's inexcusable. It can't happen again, and they need to figure out how to ensure that will not happen again.
On the other side of the break, a lot more to get to with this Scott Woodward situation. This is Beliucci Hour Lunch live. I'm eating the delicious chicken Diablos here at the Tap. If you want to check those out or any other Tap menu items, we'll be here until 11. Lunch specials every day. $8.49 burger basket comes with fries and a drink. Liucci, talking Scott Woodward, and I started the show saying just the reaction of the fan base I thought was, I don't say cool, but they were united over a common cause, and everybody was pretty angry about how this happened. And I talked to you twice during the day yesterday, and both times I think we talked, you had to go take other phone calls. So I know that you have been talking to a lot of people that were not involved with this decision, but maybe impacted with this decision. Just your conversations with A&M fan bases, decision makers, that kind of deal, and their reaction to this. I mean, it seems like a lot of influential people were pretty upset.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't seem like it. I think that goes without saying. So again, I go back to the way we ended that last segment. You're gonna come out and you've got to enact some sort of I don't know, change is the word, but you've got to take steps to ensure that doesn't happen again. Whether it's somebody getting read the riot act or whether it's some sort of checks and balances, measures put in place to prevent whatever it is. It's got to be like, this can never happen. We damn sure. And before we go into it, because everyone's been asking me that Jimbo Fisher, LSU is going to come at him, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think it's as sure a thing as people think, because if Scott Woodward makes a few phone calls and stays in touch with Jimbo and doesn't get the feeling he's going to get him, they're not going to go down that road and at the risk of it being public. I'm sure there'll be overtures made. But it's not the foregone conclusion people think, and everybody's freaking out about no buyout. Well, the buyout is that you're paying a guy $7.5 million, and whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, whatever, whenever Ed O doesn't get it done, he might be at $8.5 million, because that tide is rising. And when you look at what's going on at Auburn with Gus and Mike Gundy at Oak State, and they're making $7 a year now. Mullen's probably in that neighborhood. That tide is rising up, so Jimbo's going to rise with it. So whether it's, it might be a deal where Scott Woodward's going, I'm going to have to pay him $8.5 million a year to get him here. There's your buyout. Oh, and he's got a 10-year guarantee there. So what are we going to guarantee him? If you go 5, you might have to guarantee him $9 million a year.
It's bizarre how that state is so broke, but yet they will figure out a way to fund
ADs
and football coaches.
But anyway, the point of that is I don't think that's near what people are making it out to be. But I do think because you didn't have your guard up and because you didn't have all your bases covered, probably, you let a guy get away that – you went from like a 0%. You didn't have to think about that or worry about that. Now, at the very least, other schools are going to try to use that against Fisher and his staff and the Aggies on the recruiting front. So why did you ever risk allowing that to that's where I have the big problem with it. Why would you screw up such a good thing? So, but on the flip side of that, it can be fixed. And you can rectify that overnight.
Well,
if you go make a strong hire and you let Jimbo Fisher have not a large say, the most significant say in it. And I would contend that right now on this campus, your president, he's a good president. He is. Michael Young, I know it's polarizing with stuff politically and liberal, conservative, and there's always that tug of war going on. But he is a very good president of this university and doesn't get talked about. He's qualified to go make a strong hire, and I think on that list, next on that list, at Texas A&M right now, Jimbo Fisher will know what a professional, badass AD looks like.
If the people in charge are serious about getting this right, then Jimbo will have a huge say.
Absolutely. And I'm not worried about that. And I've actually made as many calls as I can to rattle some cages and make sure, look, that's how it has to be. And I think everyone gets that. Everyone understands that. And it's in the best interest of, I think, A&M athletics. I really do.
What are some qualities that you would like to see in the next AD? Would they mean similar qualities that what just walked out of here?
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it.
And
I mean,
I think what Scott would do was like he was around, but he wasn't meddling. You know, he was like, I want to give all of my programs, softball, women's golf, football, basketball. I want to give them every opportunity, every advantage they can to win, and then I'm going to step back away from this. I think that is the process of a good AD. Let me provide you with everything you need, and then I'll trust you to do the right thing, so I'll get out of the way. I think that's the job of a good boss.
No question about it.
You give us that freedom. So I trust you to You don't stay on me, hey, are you making the calls? Just if the product's there, I'm going to give you everything you need. If the product's there, then I'm going to let you do it your way.
Yeah, it's like I always say, I don't care if you work an hour a day or 12 hours a day. If you're getting a job done and you're doing it good. And Scott he did a great job also, I thought, of doing things with letting Stephanie Ramp, Justin Moore, letting them – they played a monster role. You've heard how many times Buzz Williams has referenced Justin during that hire. I mean, he had a great team around him and empowered them and let them do their jobs too and let them help him do his job.
That's another person that's high up in the AD that this next decision is going to matter a lot to because he's an Aggie.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Justin's got a bright future ahead of him. I think it'd be – for his career, just if you're looking at a lot of people right now are like Aggies. I'm looking at a card right now with his name on it. When we said there's a couple of them with my name on it, and then this one I think is a little more serious.
He had to take a pay cut.
Yeah,
take a pay cut.
Yeah, no. I need a less stressful job than that. I can't handle you guys. Imagine if I was having to do
the emails you would get from the front table if you were the AD.
So
as soon as the baseball team went 0 for their first 6, Asher be emailing you. We need a new hitting coach.
But I think whether Justin go, I don't think he'd go to LSU because he's in good position here. But if they hire another high-powered AD and he's got on his resume that he's worked with Woodward and the next guy, I think his next step is to be an AD at like a group of 5 and when this guy they hire is done in however many years it is, and hopefully it's longer than Scott was here, you might look up and Justin Moore's name might be on the top of most people's list. I think he's got that kind of potential. But as far as what the hire look like, I think it's got to be a football-friendly hire, like somebody that is passionate about the sport. And has been around big-time college football, Not that there's like Arizona or Kansas, if they'd had a coach that was an AD that was doing great things in all sports right now. I want a guy that's been either around the SEC or in a football league, So I think that's part of it, and I think just somebody again that's been a big time AD. This is a unique job. This job is a bear. It really is. I mean, it is. I know you think it's easy right now. Well, they've got Jimbo, they've got Buzz, and he's entering year 2, and he's entering his first year. Everything's lined up. You get everything you want. It's not an easy job.
Well,
running an athletic department of this magnitude. It's not easy, so it's got to be a pro, in my opinion.
And you've got some coaches in some major sports that have been here a long time that are going to be coming at some point soon to probably the end of their run in College Station, so there's some big decisions
the last thing I
on
want,
the horizon.
The last thing I want is for them to hire somebody that's not an athletic director, or something very heavily involved in athletics. Let's put it that way.
On the other side of the break, we'll continue the conversation. Listen to Beliucci Hour. And the owner of the Tap, John Whittington, up here, listening to John do his Dolores Liucci impression about shopping at Kohl's. Your mom shop at Kohl's?
Man, my mom will shop at anywhere. Like her favorite spot actually is the dollar store, which I think she's got like a hoarding problem.
You think?
Oh, absolutely.
When she showed me
the collection of like
glasses, bifocals that she's got.
Oh, she's got a collection of those readers front table. I need them actually. What am I talking about? She's got a collection of those readers that she just buys. Like there must be 100 of them in a basket at her house. I go, why don't you just have like a pair and a backup? No, because she's got a problem, and every time she goes into the dollar store, one of the things she's going to get is a pair of those stupid little reader glasses.
Well,
one time she showed up at like dinner with me and I think Hunter and them, and she puts them on, and they've got like these two lights, a light on each side. She like puts it on, and like all of a sudden they light up so she can read the menu. I'm like, Mom, that's enough. And then of course Hunter's kids and Mike Henderson are like, we want. So she goes and buys all them the light up glasses. It's ridiculous.
Well, we're not going to read all of the suggestions we got from here at the Tap on the next AD, but there were 2 Billy Liucci's and there was a Hunter Goodwin.
Yeah. We're saving the names, though, so if anyone gets it right, you'll win a prize.
Again, I'm not saying – I don't want you to give anything away or anything that you know, but –
I'm not.
So
I don't.
When I started to look at this in the next AD hire, I'm starting to sit there, all right.
Just don't go –
I'm starting going – what athletic departments around the country do you respect the way they do things? And
there's about 10 of them.
Yeah, and that's all I was looking at.
Yeah.
And what are those guys in those situations? I'm sure. So the decision makers at A&M, that's the issue I think the fan base doesn't trust is like those decision makers just let Scott Woodward walk away.
Yeah.
Why should we trust them to go make the right hire here?
Yeah.
And like we said in the break.
I tried to do a chat last night, and they were actually, just for lack of a better word, a complete – anonymous jackass or two that were complaining about that and complaining that they weren't getting enough info. And they're no longer a part of the site because I'm not putting up with Jack you-know-what anymore. If you're listening and you've been banned, you ain't coming back because I'm not putting up with crap on that board. That is going to be a fun place to go. It's going to be where people can talk Aggie football without getting shouted down. And if you're going to come in there and complain and bitch about things, your butt is out.
He was not happy last night. He was fired up.
My days of putting up with that crap are over. And so if you're listening and you're on TexAgs and you get annoyed by those people with that attitude and the people, the 1% that come on and make it unbearable for the other 99% of you guys, let me let you know that I am purging that crap. And I will make it my mission to purge those people.
And here's the deal. Like, he's going to do it because he'll go through spells where he'll forget about it and somebody will piss him off. And then everybody that's pissed him off in that spell, in that little span, you're gone.
Yeah.
And that's the way he'll do it.
It's gonna,
with no questions asked.
And it makes the site better. And like I said, it's not about disagreeing. It's not about complaining. It's not about asking for more or critiquing or, being quote-unquote negative. God only knows. The funniest thing I get is that you can't be negative on TexAgs. Are you bleeping kidding me? You can't be negative on TexAgs? You can't say a negative thing about a coach, an AD, a recruit, a player? Are you freaking kidding me? It's not that. Don't be an ass. That's my motto. Don't be an ass to your friends. Don't be an ass on TexAgs. Don't be an ass at a restaurant to a server. Don't be an ass at a drive-thru. It's simple. Family, friends. Don't do that on TexAgs, and you can post as much as you want, as long as you want. You can be as negative as you want. You can be cluelessly positive if you want. You can put your maroon colored glasses on, drink your maroon Kool-Aid, whatever you want. Don't act like a couple of those people last night. Now, with that said,
are you confident in the decision makers?
Yes. I mean, here's why. Because I think there's a lot of egg on the face right now. And there's a lot of people watching. And that's a great motivator to do the right thing. When you've kind of when the whole world knows, like, something got screwed up and everyone's looking like, okay, decision makers, how did this happen? And here's the other thing. Those people still, whether you believe it or not, they do. You can screw up and still have A&M's best interest at heart. You might have been wrong. You might have done something wrong and handled it wrong, but like people on the board are sitting there. They don't want. They want to get another great AD in here. Whether or not, the fact that Scott Woodward shouldn't have left is a side deal, but you're talking about a hire. Let's look at the last few hires, because that's what this is. This is a hire. This doesn't have to do with letting Scott Woodward go home to LSU.
But that does raise the stakes on this thing.
It's no question. But so let's look at the last hires that A&M's. Scott Woodward, Jimbo Fisher, Buzz Williams. Scott hired him. Michael Young. I think Texas A&M, in general, as a whole, has been making, whether it was Woodward doing it in athletics or vice versa, they've been making good, strong hires. And I'm 1,000,000% convinced that will continue, especially this is a damn attractive job. Now, a new guy is going to ask some tough questions, and they need to. And they need, he's going to need to get answers to that. And most notably, who's going to be the president. That's a big part of it. But yeah, I think without question, this is a job that most people would crawl to still. And I mean real ADs. When you look at what's here, what's to offer, it's a Southeastern Conference job. There are only about 12 of those, 11 of them that are like incredibly appealing in all, there are not many SEC premier jobs available, and that's kind of the holy grail for an athletic director. And I think it's a challenge for anybody to look at a place like this and go, wow, I could go there and I can win championships. And they haven't won championships there. In a perfect world, I won't have to hire a football or basketball coach for a while. And on top of that, they're very proven. One of them's a national championship coach. Buzz Williams is so proven at multiple stops. He's a conference champ and a Sweet 16 coach. And oh, by the way, because of this FUBAR that happened, you're going to get paid quite a bit of money too, because A&M has to go out and go get the guy.
Isn't the first question of so whoever they zero in on, isn't the first question in his mind to the A&M brass going to be like, well, why would Scott Woodward leave a place like this? What caused him to leave? Am I going to have to deal with that same kind of stuff?
That's what I just said.
Yeah, I'm just reiterating it. Mm-hmm. That's going to be the biggest question for the next guy coming in is why did he leave?
Yeah.
And am I going to have to deal with that same kind of deal? And that'll be a huge question that A&M's got to answer.
I think they can overcome it because of all the other reasons that I just said. Nothing's perfect. Texas A&M is not a clown show, guys. I know sometimes, and we get frustrated, and I think rightfully so. And last night, and yesterday, I think everybody should have had a right to be extremely frustrated and disappointed and even off the rails a little bit. I think that was one of those rare times I say, you know what, yeah, throw your hands up in the air like you just don't care. No, but, I felt like it was fine. There are times when a mini slight meltdown are warranted, and that was one of them. Man. I get it. I was right there with you. But this is not a clown show here. It's been at times in the past. It's not, man. This is a very attractive situation because ADs and good ones that are at big schools understand nowhere's perfect. Everywhere's got issues. There's nowhere where you're going to go where it's the perfect situation of, president, chancellor, head coach, athletic director, board, donors. This place is probably the best when it comes to donors with big time money that don't meddle and don't bother. you'd be surprised. I mean, you'd be really surprised when coaches get here and ADs, and they're like, wow, this is, all these big oil guys and all these guys with petroleum, everybody in the petroleum, all this money, they don't meddle, and they don't demand stuff, and they don't demand that the head coach be on speed. This place does not have more issues than others.
On the other side of the break, we'll close the show. Beliucci Hour Lunch live on. Final segment of the show today, not a show, the show of the Beliucci Hour Lunch. Ryan Brauninger and Billy Liucci with you from here at the Tap on Harvey Road. Spent the majority of today, as we probably should have, discussing the departure of Scott Woodward and then the upcoming decision by the A&M athletic department. We got one question from the Tap, and I'm glad Liucci's not here to react to it, because he would verbally pummel whoever asks us. Every Aggie is afraid we'll lose Jimbo. What are your thoughts? That's a defeatist mentality. That's a bridge that whoever's going to come in, I'm sure will have to cross. But that's why, like Billy said, he's going to have Jimbo's going to have a huge voice in this decision. And if you're an Aggie fan, you're like, okay, yeah, he has to have a huge voice in this decision. As a matter of fact, if Jimbo doesn't sign off on it, you make the argument that it doesn't need. If Jimbo doesn't sign off on a guy, he doesn't need to be the athletic director. I think all Aggie fans are okay with that being part of the decision-making process. So I would be willing to bet that whoever is named the next athletic director at Texas A&M will have the gold star of approval from Coach Fisher. That was the only question we had. Did you read it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I know we'd already answered that.
Yeah.
Is there a reasonable – it's very early, but is there a reasonable timetable for this deal?
I think pretty swiftly.
Really?
Yeah,
So you don't think there's going to be an interim tag?
No,
to anybody?
I mean week, 2, not long.
That's interesting. I mean, I think that's ideal. I don't think an interim is.
I don't think you'll see an
stopgap.
interim.
So it's just.
I don't think you'll see like a Mike Perrin situation at Texas or anything like that.
It's certainly I think we've covered every base to this deal. Is there anything going forward that, I mean, you have to it's going to make you feel much better about the direction and letting Scott go? Is there one thing that you think can happen in the next week or so to make you feel better? Is it just the hire?
The hire, and then I think everybody kind of everything being out in the open and everybody knowing that can't screw up on that level without everyone wanting to know why. Aggies want to know why, and I think that always, that's a powerful way of people being held accountable and getting better at what they do. That's part of it too. Yeah. They're human beings. It's not always. It's human beings. It's relationships. People can make mistakes. People can overlook things. People cannot see. I mean, but when you do, you got to fix it.
You think it shined a light on this whole decision-making process and how it happens at A&M? Because because Scott had done things behind the scenes so well, and it was never a very public. There wasn't the decision-making process. It was kind of under the radar. But now something like this happens, and now there are a lot of influential, like you said, important donors and Aggies that are going to want to know, this can't happen again. So we've got to shine a light on, we've got to review the decision-making process. We've got to shine a light on how it goes, how we go about doing these things, and who's signing off.
I think what A&M needs to be careful of now, because you want to make a strong hire here and you don't want it to get screwed up. There are going to be a lot of people that, for once, they're calling up probably, and they do want answers, and they do say, I want to know, what are we going to do? Who are we going to hire? People that, as this thing gets going and they identify a target or two, very important to let those people know, no matter how influential, if they're not a part of the hiring process, you'll be happy. Yep. But I think it's important for Aggies, and I'm talking to the ones that, cut big checks and have a lot going. The fewer people that get involved in knowing what they're doing, the better. And I get where it's no, we just lost a great D. I've got to know who it is, because you got to appease me, and I have to know that it's somebody good. I've done this long enough, and then the more people that know, the less your odds of making the right hire. And that's one thing Scott Woodward was very good at. The Jimbo Fisher thing was kept quiet for way longer than people will ever realize. Way longer than people will ever realize. And if Kevin Sumlin would have gone out and gone 10-2 and went to a New Year's Six, it wouldn't have happened. But that thing was something, Scott Woodward had eyed him from the time he took the job. And I know right now everybody's going, well, isn't that what he's going to do at LSU? Yeah, but I think he's going to have other targets there. There are other guys for LSU now, maybe not a few years ago. But at the same time, Scott was, the Buzz Williams thing was kept very quiet right up until towards the finish line. It's just stuff like that.
Luch, happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Don't forget our last show, May 6th. So enjoy your weekend. We're coming to the conclusion of the semester here. So every Monday, Thursday through May 6th, and May 6th will be our final show. Again, happy Easter. Louie's on the other side of the break. You listen to Beliucci Hour Lunch live on the Zone.
The Brazos Valley Rehabilitation Center